Okay, a surprise topic. We don't know what we're going to talk about. And you are in control, and you decide, and I'm excited.
Okay, well, we're going to be inspired by another one of my writings. This one is handwritten on lined paper.
You have to frame
rule.
that. Wait, what?
Wide rule lined paper.
Wide rule. It was written in 1980 when I was 19 years old.
I was 4.
Is it in
He was
cursive?
4. Well, my writing has always been
Combination.
yes.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
And it's way better than it used to be. And so background. So I would have been a sophomore in college and just finishing my sophomore year, probably, or close to it. Maybe I was supposed to be studying for exams and didn't. I was a terrible student in college. I did not want to be in college. I just wanted to be in law school. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, and I resented having to be in college. And I actually should have what I wanted to do was be a music major, but I didn't think I could get into law school if I was a music major, so I was an English lit major. I should have just went and been a music major. I would have done way better and actually enjoyed it more. So that's kind of the background of it. And so there's 2 things I want to talk about it. Number 1 is what I did, and I can even remember writing this somewhat. And I remember that I just decided to write my stream of consciousness of how I was feeling. And
Was it like a diary?
This was something that I just wrote down for me. Like, I didn't turn this in. No one saw it. No one's ever probably heard this before. I saved it for whatever reason.
Okay, I want to. Okay.
So that's kind of the lead up.
Okay.
And it's a total stream of this is how I feel. Okay. And then point number 3 is
Yes.
we have both been accused of having a flair for the dramatic.
Yes.
And that it's somehow orchestrated. I have, because of course I'm a female, so everything I do is criticized more than you. But I have been criticized for being so dramatic, which is interesting.
They call me Mo Hamoudi. that is what I've been called, Mo Hamoudi, because my mood. Yes, I've been accused of being.
Well, see, I'm more flat in terms of my mood. I don't really have lows. I have mediums and then highs.
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to spur some conversation, not necessarily because of what I'm writing. Just remember, I want you to pay attention to the drama of it.
Okay.
The stream of thought process, and it's going to spur some discussion, but maybe not about this, but just about life in general and about school.
So the topic of today is how drama impacts what we do. Let's hear it.
Okay. 19. There is an unrest in me, which I fear, yet welcome. I question my being, my mind, my goals. It threatens the security of all that I am. Bored, restless, unsatisfied in who I am, and why don't I know? I failed my parents, my teachers, my colleagues, and friends. Who am I to earn their disappointment and disrespect? Catherine Koehler. The name is mine, but what does it mean? A student? Of what breed? School cannot grade my intellect. Curiosity is not aroused by required courses. I hate school, but I must attend. Tolerate. That's a whole sentence. Tolerate. Lawyer. Again, part of me. Why must I wait? And I am more. And I am more. But what? I want to run away. I want to be able to wake each morning eager for the day I do not need to beckon sleep. I need patience and tolerance. My goals must be made clear. If I can't see them, I will not sacrifice. My mind is wasting, and I along with it. But stop. Pick up yourself and reassure yourself that you are you. Am I? Don't question yourself until you become so uncertain as to lose all confidence. But total confidence cannot accept uncertainty. How can I improve if there is no questioning the ultimate? And here is the last line. Crisis. It is perpetual. My identity.
Wow. I like that. You were struggling with your identity
I was struggling being in
21st, 1980.
school.
I think there's more than that.
Probably.
That's not a school's crisis. That's an identity conflict.
Well, that is also, yes, that is me as a person issue.
Yes. And you're thinking about it so thoughtfully. Who am I? Who am I?
I'm just saying.
I mean, I want to see this.
It is when you are 19 years old, you're still a teenager, and technically you are very self-absorbed. You just are. So there's a lot of self-absorption in there that as an adult is embarrassing, but that's the reality of it. You are on the cusp. You are not where you are. You are in between, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, you're young. Some young people, at that age, I definitely thought I knew a lot more than I actually did. And for myself, I would trip and make mistakes because of that. But, I mean, I was in the 6th grade at that point, so I didn't even know what was going on. But by the time that I was that old, by the time that I was in college, I thought I knew everything already, but except what I was going to do with my life. I had no idea. Like, as opposed to you saying that you knew you were going to be a lawyer, I got to school and thought that I was going to go into political science and maybe work in government somehow. And
Wow.
2 quarters into my first year of college, I knew that I was totally wrong and that I was going to have to change everything that I was doing. So I think that's showing that you at least had some direction.
Okay. This is universal, and this is what I think we should explore.
Okay.
Because I think it'll help a lot of people. This is just so powerful. I want to run away. I want to be able to wake each morning eager for the day. I do not need to beckon sleep. I need patience and tolerance. My goals must be, now you spelled this M-A-D, not M-A-D-E, mad clear.
Oh.
Mad clear. And if I can't see them, I will not sacrifice. That is not about school.
No, it's not. That's for sure.
That is not about school.
Well, tell us how does it speak to you?
That to me sounds like you wanted to run the heck out of wherever you were. You did not want to be there. And you were just there because it was a means towards some end, some future idea that was super important to you to get to. And you did not want to sleep. You wanted to go. And it was maddening. To me, I read that your situation was maddening, but it was clear. And I can't tell you how many people out there are right now probably currently professionally in a position where they're thinking every day, I just want to run away.
Did you have that feeling?
I have that feeling. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I always wanted to run away.
Well, sure.
You know, but like professionally, I will admit there are times, like even now, like I just want to run away, you know, and like, because things get overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, because I come back, because that thing that makes me want to run away is not it's not what you're talking about there. It's just being overwhelmed. But I don't feel that professionally. I feel like my profession, I'm clear where I need to be. Personally, I'm clear where I need to be. But I think that what you're talking about here, where I think is important, is that people are right now stuck in their lives and they want to run away. And did you run away?
No.
Okay. What did you do? If you were, because you were stuck in a place, how did you work through that and end up where you wanted to be?
Well, writing, first of all, is cathartic for me.
Okay.
Always has been. That's why I blog. That's why, I don't have any problem creating the stuff I create because I just do it. And if I don't put it to paper, I do it mentally. I always have that dialogue going. I have a very, very active mind.
Yeah.
Again, I have been assessed as not being actually manic, but I could be.
Yeah.
If I, so I try to make sure that I don't ever get to that point, but it doesn't turn off easily. It's always going. And I listen to it a lot of time. I don't ignore it all the time. Sometimes I do, but I don't always. In here, I've experienced that later. I've experienced this before. I experienced it when I was getting divorced.
You wanted to run away. Yeah.
I experienced it when I've had some issues at work where the first time was, a law firm that was breaking up. Second time was, almost each time I've changed a job. There's some element of it. It's maybe not as pressing, but there's some element of that because what I see, how I see it play out in others oftentimes is they remain stuck. They don't, because you have to make this assessment. Is this where I'm meant to be? Or should I make a change? And a lot of people are very scared of change. And I am not. So what you're hearing here isn't me being scared of a change.
Okay.
What you're hearing me is saying, I want to make sure that it's the right change or the right path. I need to make that decision.
Yes.
That this is going to fulfill my goal. Otherwise, I'm not going to do that sacrifice.
Okay. So it's not okay.
There's a calculation in my emotion, which is interesting because I still have it. I just don't get explosive or have a problem, an emotional issue for no reason. It's especially at work. It's very calculated.
Yeah.
And here I'm telling you, this is what my mind is doing. It's calculating what are my next steps going to be because I want to take them, but when or how or why has to be aligned with my goals. And I'll do anything to get my goals. I will sacrifice for them, but I have to make sure that this step or this process is the right way to go. That's what that is.
It's cathartic, as you said. Mm-hmm. Do you still do this stuff? You still blog, constantly. And it's almost like you're giving voice to a process that is governing all the decisions you're making professionally and personally, and you're putting it out there. You're like pushing it out of your brain into the universe by writing it. Is that helped you make better decisions?
So as you probably know, Mike knows, I blog my trials, which people have said, this is literally insane. You are in court, you're working, 12, 13 hours a day, and then you write what happened in the day. And I don't write like, well, the judge said this. I'm like, well, this is how I felt, and this is what happened. And I really don't even write that much about the case a lot of times. It's very much everything I'm going through. And people like to read it intensely because they get it. Like they go through that stuff, even if it's not in that exact context, especially lawyers, they're thinking like, oh, I go through this. But everybody likes listening to it because so much of the time we just talk about the end results. And it's the whole process of it to me that is so fascinating. And also, as you said, I need to put that away. So I don't do the looking back, looking forward.
Yeah.
I as soon as I write that, like, so trial day number 15, I write my little entry, it's gone.
It's gone.
All I take with me is what I need for the next day tactically. It's gone. It's up on the shelf because I'm compartmentalized, as I've told you. And I feel good. It's like clean slate. Let's keep going.
Yeah. And you, during the Summer Taylor trial, you told me, you're like, write and give it to me. and then you started to push it out in your blog, your trial diary. And I got to tell you, it helped me specifically calm myself and move on from the day. And so the benefit is that it does help you focus on what you need to do next, and it gets you out of your mind. But it's really hard, Karen. I mean, let
me stop you, because what you said there was it helped you with your anxiety, and I want to be clear. Like, if you were to see me, you would think I have no anxiety, and especially in court, I am so calm.
You're very calm,
even here. And the answer is, I appear to have it, but I don't recognize it. I don't embrace it, which is probably why I have high blood pressure.
Okay.
I don't embrace it. I don't recognize it. I don't listen to it.
Yeah.
And so, because I've always probably had it and rejected it.
Yeah.
It's not a positive thing that I want, but I have it. So it's likely that I write like this, and I did in there, because yes, there had to been something causing anxiety, and everything else, not knowing what you're going to do or why you're stuck in school when you don't want to be, or maybe I was having a bad, relationship. I don't know what I was doing exactly there, but that's the way for me to process it and move on forward from it. So I think that we share a lot, which is why I told you to write, because you also are prolific and are fast. I would never do this in trial if I was a slow person. I'm very fast. I would not spend hours writing a piece to push out. It's got to come. It just flows right out of me. It's like, this is how I'm feeling, and I'm dumping it. And luckily it's cogent. It sounds like this. I mean, it might be circular or meandering, but it's also not normally just what happened. It'll like, well, this reminded me of, and I'll talk about my dog or, some other, it's very weird how the human mind works. But when you write and have a long history of writing and relaxing and letting yourself go, you see how your mind works.
But this is something you learned 45 years ago. This document is from 45 years ago.
Long ago
and probably longer before that.
Yeah.
And what you've done is taken this and made it part of the practice of law, the practice of you being a trial lawyer, and it's benefited you. Law school doesn't tell you to do this.
Yeah.
Law school doesn't tell you keep a blog and just put your mind process out there. They would tell you probably not to do this.
In fact, I was asked to stop by Paul and Keith. Keith hated it.
Yeah.
And Paul was like, the enemy's gonna know. And I was like, what are they going to know? I mean, they all know that I'm not traditional. Yeah. They all know that my mind works in mysterious ways to them. This doesn't, I don't ever write about my clients. I don't, there's stuff I don't write about. There's so much stuff I don't write about.
Yeah.
But how my mind thinks isn't something I've ever been worried about someone trying to emulate. It's my mind. They have their minds.
Yeah.
And the reason I put it out to the world, I could just write the diaries, which I've done, like this. No. But for me, it's a release. I don't like secrets. I don't like secrets at all.
Yeah.
Because I feel that they imprison you. I feel like you have to spend time, you have to invest time in keeping a secret. And I don't want that. That's why people are so comfortable around me.
Yeah.
I really have no secrets.
Yeah. Paul and Keith's advice would be what I would call the traditional advice.
Yes.
I mean,
don't let the defense. And also, Keith felt I was too folksy.
What does it mean, folksy?
Well, the way I write is very folksy.
What does folksy mean, Mike?
It's not legally citable. Well, in a tradition, it's not, like you said, there's no sense as one word.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember one of the, AAJ, American Association for Justice, asked me to write a column for them. I wrote it, and they said they wouldn't print it. They said, this is just not legal enough. It's not punctuated correctly. And so then I wrote a book.
Yeah.
I wrote several series of books for them, and that was all published. Yeah. But they couldn't get their mind around the fact that I write the way that I do.
Well, this this gives insight into you're not a prototypical lawyer. This is not a prototypical approach to practice of law. But I understand why Keith and Paul are like, hey, look, you can't, this is not work product. This is not law. What is this? There's no analysis. This is you just like putting
Spewing.
out, not spewing.
Yeah.
It is not a spewing.
Yeah.
What this is you coherently putting out what is going on in your mind and making it part of the practice of law. And what it's doing is that it is relaxing you and focusing you on the objectives to bring success for the client. I think it's a fantastic tool that you've developed for your entire life, and you've incorporated it into the practice of law. People are not taught to do that. Hey, tell me what you did really well as a kid that helped you make sense of life and brought you closer to people. What did you do? I painted pictures, or I wrote poems, or I did this. Bring that into the practice of law. I sang. I played music.
Well, for you, you know, you don't so much like to write like this as you like your poetry.
Oh, yeah.
And we've already talked about, like, you've never written so much poetry in a work as you have here.
No.
Probably all years combined that you've been a lawyer.
Well, I got to tell you a secret.
You write it and then just don't publish it?
No. I got to tell you a secret. Secret is that when I was going to talk to Karen about getting a job here, I went and read every blog post that I could about you, and I also listened to all your podcasts. And my favorite podcast.
Wow.
I was working out to go work out. I would work out for like 2 hours and just listen to podcast after podcast. My favorite podcast was the one with you and your daughter. Well, no, the ones your daughters did about you.
Yeah.
And they were talking about you. And then because it gave me a completely different perspective and gave me understanding about what you were doing. Because what it was projected to me was that the podcasts are about marketing, and that, you know, it was your way of like trying to solicit business. I didn't take the podcasts or the blogs to be that.
Yeah.
What I learned was that this was your way to express yourself and like give voice to what was going on in your mind. And so that is what has empowered me to want to write and express it so much.
You know, there have been a couple podcasts that have been meant for sharing information about lawsuits. There is no doubt about that. I mean, you can count them on probably one hand, maybe two hands.
Yeah.
Where we did it for the purpose of that. And it was very clear. Like, you know, when Seattle Children's had the mold outbreak, we were very clear about it. But for me, what I do as a lawyer, it's very much like this, which is you can, you know, an artist is going to create their art and keep it in their room.
Yeah.
And then look at what the world is less beautiful because artists didn't share their art. And I'm not saying that every artist's art is beautiful, but a lot of art is hidden away because people think that it's not going to matter. And I don't really care if it matters or not. It's my way of expression. And I feel like my practice of law and what we do and who I am as a lawyer, because remember, my mission, my goal, my purpose is to show the world that lawyers are real people too.
Yes.
That's the purpose of it.
Yes.
That we're real people too. And so I am prolific and I just let it all out there and I don't really edit like, oh, this is a better picture than that. I did think about going through the podcast and removing, like, there's some of stuff in there that doesn't need to be in there. And I just thought, why? It's just there. You can skip over it. And other parts of it is really, which I really like. Those are the better episodes. They're there. But I don't know.
I want to ask Mike something. Mike, so you're a prospective client and you got a case and you want to talk to a lawyer about it, and then you go and look up Karen, and then you start to see blogs and podcasts and this eccentric person. How would people perceive that?
I don't know necessarily, but I think that just so she was first talking about the trial diary, and that's a little different because I don't think that the public sees that.
Correct.
But the podcasts, I think it depends on how many they listened to. But I think that it does put your attorney into a more personal light, which can make, I would think, would make it easier for someone to want to talk to you. But it depends on the person too, I think. If they were a very, if they were connected to a prototypical lawyer,
Yeah.
that might turn them off.
And that's a client that won't be happy with me.
Yeah, they would probably never be happy.
I want someone that's very comfortable with seeing, this is who I am. I have no agenda other than this is who I am.
And I think you tend
As
to
a
be
lawyer.
more honest than a lot of the prototypical lawyers would be, because they follow the
Scripts.
the script that they
Yeah.
have. Yeah, the
Yeah.
outline that they're supposed to do. Like you talked about when you went to the lawyers when you were a kid
Yeah.
for your mom.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the treatment that you got. Like, you didn't fall into the boxes that they check off, so we're not going to pay attention.
Do you think the public wants more to have lawyers represent them that are like this, or like they want like a guy in a suit and, hey, I'm a lawyer?
I think it, like I said, I think it depends on the person, but I think most people would probably want somebody more like you or Karen. But they also don't, lawyers have that reputation that it's not that, Look at what they see in the media, like Better Call Saul and stuff like that. The entertainment industry really plays up the darker sides for the drama. And that's not really what it's like most of the time. I mean, I'm not going to say that doesn't exist, but it's not as prevalent as everyone wants to make it seem. And and then if you bring in our current administration and the way that they're treating the law field right now, it's even worse. But
I have an
too far on
epiphany.
that.
I have an epiphany.
Okay.
I have an epiphany
Okay.
because what Mike is saying is really making my synapses fire. The last line you write, crisis, it is perpetual, my identity. Okay, now wait a minute. I got to be back in front of the mic. Make sure Mike, Mike, I'm in front of the
Make sure
mic.
you're in front of the mic.
Crisis, it is perpetual, my identity. Karen,
Yeah.
be honest,
Yes.
because I know you'd be truthful,
Yes.
is part of the reason you are trial diary, blogging, podcast, even before I showed up, is that you were combating the profession's attempt to define who you are. Because you come into the profession in the 80s and all of these lawyers and systems are trying to tell you, no, you are this lawyer, you're that type. Is this your sword? Is this your battle? Is this your call to arms and saying, like, not only I'm not going to let you define who I am, but I am going to write my own story?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Always has been.
And
But
it's
you
been
know
there.
that.
No, but I just
Yeah.
put it together. And when I put stuff like that together, I feel like it's a persuasive argument. I submit my case. I win. I
Well,
win.
I have the past year when I've been going around the country speaking, I've been talking about what?
Chaos
theory.
Chaos theory.
And here we're talking about crisis. It's perpetual, my identity.
Oh.
And the reason is because I'm comfortable in the gray.
Yeah.
I've told you that before. So many people want everything black and white.
Yeah.
But life is not black and white. We feel safe in black and white because we can just believe that, the dogma of this is going to protect us. And the gray is scary because you don't know which way things are going to go. But life is primarily gray. We can insert the black and white parts of it, but it is gray. And I may not be, when I say I'm comfortable in it, I mean I'm comfortable in it just like that. I'm not trying to escape it. I would like to, maybe.
Yeah.
I would like that answer. But I'm not going to, I always have a goal.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a good mom. I'm going to be a really good grandma.
Yeah.
I'm going to, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then I have a lot of sub goals. I'm a goal person.
Yeah.
that's how I function.
Is it fair to then
And everything.
Is it fair to then say that the sexism that you experienced not only benefited you, but benefited the practice of law?
I think that the sexism that still goes on, that I've gone through, and the racism
Yeah.
that people, in our profession still engage in, and that it happens to, I think it's a shame.
It's a shame, but
I think it's shameful, especially in the legal profession. Don't get me wrong. It exists everywhere, and that's a shame. But especially in the legal profession, where we are supposed to be upholding the rule of law and being champions for justice.
But you're talking about what we do, which is we fight it. I'm not saying that those things are bad and we should fight, and we do. I'm saying that something that's bad benefited you because you're just a different lawyer.
I am.
And people have benefited from it, and so I'm trying to get I guess I'm trying to get a sense of, you get up every morning and you have a positive mindset.
I don't want to be a dude.
What does that mean?
I don't want to be a guy. I don't want to be a guy lawyer. I don't want to be the prototype. I'm very happy not to be. But sometimes you don't know that until you've already tried and failed. Like, I tried to be a prototype lawyer at the beginning. We talked about that.
Yes.
We were sellouts. And it's so much better to be on the other side and to feel empowered, but you don't always start out that way.
Yeah.
So I had to go through a journey. My journey was not as rugged as your journey.
Yeah.
But my discrimination, once you learned how to speak English very well, I have been more hindered than you have been.
I will admit that currently, notwithstanding our two completely different experiences growing up, as a lawyer professionally, I have many more advantages than you do, even though you are a better trial lawyer than me, even though you have been doing this longer than me. I have advantages over you, and it's because I'm a man. Pure and simple. And I could walk into a courtroom and I could take advantage of those opportunities with the right judge. And that's sad. That's super sad.
Yeah.
That's super sad.
I think for a person that has been discriminated against, especially a person who's a lawyer, I mean, we can go to,
Yeah.
I don't want to just make this super broad because I don't want to speak for other people. But there's nothing you can do when that happens in our forum, because you're already in our forum.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't happen there, but it does. And you have to, work within the system and get through it. And some people do better than others.
Yeah.
I have done it belligerently. I have very much a fighting spirit, and I can be very belligerent and in your face, and I won't back down about it. But I'm also very soft-spoken. I can come across as just very, and I feel overall I'm a pretty humble person. I don't always want to fight. And I'd rather not have a fight in personal situations. But when push come to shove, I will always fight. So it's like, I'm not going to aggress it. I'm not going to instigate it. But if you do wrong to me or my clients or my family or my friends, I will fight back. That's just who I am.
So you're channeling that experience, but are you doing it for yourself? Because
I used to not do it as much as a female lawyer and a female minority lawyer when there were very few. I did not champion myself enough when I was younger.
I have seen you in court in court, and I've seen a superior court judge treat you what I perceive is in a sexist manner in the middle of a trial. And you were very soft-spoken. And it made me want to jump up and tell him something, but I was not trying the case with you, and I was sort of sitting back, and I've seen it. And so, but I see you stand up and be very aggressive when you see it happening to clients or one of us.
Yeah.
To me, to any of our colleagues, I see you get very aggressive. Is it harder for you to do it for yourself?
Well, I won't do it for myself in a
Why not?
court because I'm there to represent the client. Client cannot be jeopardized. I will never. I've never done that in court.
Yeah. Is that hard? Not being
No.
able at that moment to just say,
No.
hey, look, that's not right.
Because that's the rule. However, I will write about it afterwards.
You did write about it
I
afterwards.
will write about it afterwards, and I will talk about it afterwards, but I will not ever let anything about that, even with opposing counsel, and I normally don't have any kind of problems with opposing counsel, although sometimes I do.
Yeah.
But I do my best not to, I'm not important. What was the second rule?
You're not that
That was the
important.
first one.
My first one is you're not that important.
It's my clients that's important. I'm
Very
not that
good.
important.
Very good, Karen.
Yeah.
Very good.
And that's how I get through it. It's really not even hard.
Yeah.
It's emotionally hard when you know that it's happening to you, but it's not hard making the decision to just say, Your Honor, thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right.
Karen, don't you think that the trial diaries, especially in those type of situations, have worked to your advantage sometimes in throwing like the defense off?
So, you would hope that they don't get disseminated, but they do. And I write them knowing that they're going to get disseminated. And so there's times when I will lead them somewhere where maybe they shouldn't have been led. Like if you're going to read my trial diaries as a defense trial lawyer, hoping to get, figure out how to take advantage of them, then that's unfortunate because I'm very strategic, even when I'm writing fast. So there's never anything I'm ever going to do and never have that was going to jeopardize the case. So yes, and I have also had trial lawyers get upset with me, and I've said, well, then you shouldn't have read my trial diary. I mean,
Yeah.
That's what I loved the most. I remembered that, so I was hoping you
Or listen to
yeah.
our podcast.
They did. They were very upset about that. And I'm like, well, then why
Then
did
just
you read
don't
it?
read it.
Don't read it.
You're like,
Yeah. Yeah. You're prolific, but you're not impulsive. That's one thing I know about you. You're prolific, but you're not impulsive. You're quick, but you're not untethered.
No.
And sometimes people, one of the biggest misconceptions people have about you is that you're untethered and impulsive.
Yeah.
And that it's only because you're quick and you're responsive. But, this is why I never second guess a decision you make. I mean, if I talk to you about something, if I think strategically maybe something doesn't make sense to me, I will explore, but I see where it's going because I know you've thought about it long before, and like you're mapping it out. You've thought it, how it's going to unfold. I mean, I can give you case specific examples. I won't, because I want to talk about case specific stuff. But I've seen it in significant case development from the beginning.
Well, you can talk about it as long as, is it a case that's already resolved?
No.
Then.
No, we can't talk about it. But I see it, and and then I see things sort of happening towards the end or towards the tail end of the case, and I go, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And maybe once a couple of these cases are resolved, we can talk about it. But I think that would be really good teaching exercises for lawyers and people alike to start to map things out. You know what? You're kind of like Baz Luhrmann. Do you like Baz Luhrmann, the director?
What has he done?
What has Baz Luhrmann done?
Moulin Rouge,
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one. B-A-Z.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
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 But
Very cool.
you direct like Baz Luhrmann. You have a vision, and
Goal. Goal.
a goal, and you have a vision,
Yeah.
and then it just sort of like naturally unfolds. You don't have, it's not structured, it just unfolds.
It has the appearance of unfolding.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
the last tip I want to say is just going back to the writing. You hope that writing isn't going to be a lost form of art.
No.
Well,
I mean, maybe.
Nowadays people are doing AI writing, and then they just go back and proofread it to make sure that it's correct. And to me, I don't think I'll ever do it, because to me, writing is creative. And I like the way it comes out in the sequence it does and the way it does.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was you who put me through AI. Somebody put me through AI and said, how does Karen write?
I did.
What?
It
Remember?
was so funny.
You said, you sent it through AI and said, how does Karen write?
Yeah. I said, how does Karen write? And
Yeah.
it came out with all the stuff because it went out and like, I fed it a bunch of your writing.
Mm-hmm.
I fed the AI tool a bunch of your writing just to see like, hey, how does this thing work? And then like it wrote.
Yeah.
It wasn't totally you. It just
No.
sort of caught a glimpse
Yeah.
of you.
But it did talk about like short sentences.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, very. But anyway, my takeaway point is, and I'm not saying everybody should write, because I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that writing and being a person that likes to write is a gift if you're a lawyer.
Yeah.
It is, and well, reading is the same thing, reading and writing. But I'm just talking about writing today. If you like to write, and normally they go hand in hand,
Yeah.
because if you read, then that helps your vocabulary. And you know, I'm a voracious reader my whole life, and I don't read. I only listen to like autobiographies in my car. Like I like total escapism. I want fiction because I have enough other kind of reading that I do. But the writing process is so good for people, because it does let you see how your brain works.
Yeah.
If you, especially I can remember what I remember about this one more than anything is just saying, I'm gonna let my hand just go where my brain wants it to go. I want to get this thought out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to control it. I'm going to try not to control it. I'm going to try not to censor it.
Yeah.
I just want to see.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool
That is cool.
to think about, like letting your brain do that.
Yeah.
Don't you think that you learn more about what you're writing when you're able to sort of see your inner voice on a page and read it?
Mike, that's a better way of saying what I just tried to say. Yeah,
That's a really well.
it's so true.
Yeah. That's why I try to write a poem a day.
There you go.
You know, I try to write a poem a day, you know.
Yeah.
But that's helpful advice.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.